Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are sitting down and talking about color correcting, and so I wanted to sit down and show you guys how I would color correct as a professional makeup artist, and hopefully you guys learned something new from this video. There are lots of misconceptions and people on the internet tend to do this step very wrong, so I just wanted to let you guys know what I thought and my tips. So if you're interested in seeing what I have to say, what I have to show you, then please keep watching. Hey guys, so let's get into the video. We're talking all about color correcting. I have my iced coffee here that I've made myself, and it's quite lovely, quite amazing. So if you see me sipping something, it's this. Color correcting is, I would say, not the easiest technique out there. Something simple that you guys can understand and the basics of it, and the most easy part of color correcting. There are more advanced techniques of color correcting that I'm not going to mention in today's video, but mainly what I want to talk about today is color correcting in the way that most people see it and use it, and an easier way for you guys to do it at home. So that's gonna be mainly what I'm gonna be talking about today. I have a few different products that I use. This one is from Tarte, and then I have a few color correctors from LA Girl, the Pro Conceal correctors. I do also have in my professional kit a palette with concealers, and it does have some color correctors in it, but these are the ones that I use most often. Those other ones, I've run through them quite a bit, so they're pretty low on the corrector side. I have the palette right now just mainly for concealers. So me personally, when I color correct, I like to do so before my foundation, so that is why I am barefaced right now. And I do have some redness from some breakouts. Breakouts are normal, you guys. We don't have to freak out about them. Everyone gets them. But I figured that it will be a great opportunity to sit here and show you guys how I color correct them for when I do my makeup and I have a few breakouts or discoloration in the skin. Now, color correcting is something that I see done on the internet pretty wrong most often. I see lots of people using unnecessary product, unnecessary amounts of color correcting, or color correcting when they don't even need to color correct. So that's basically why I wanted to sit down and show you guys mainly what I do and what works best when you color correct in my experience. So this one from Tarte is a great color corrector. It's one of my favorites right now at the moment. This is a light medium shade. They also have a medium dark shade. Depending on your skin tone is the one that you will get. But I really like this product. It is a very creamy and really great. I like the correctors to be kind of creamy because they're probably gonna go, especially these peach tone correctors. It's nice that they're creamy because they're probably gonna go in areas that have lots of texture, like under the eyes or lots of creases there. So it's nice to use a texture that's a little bit creamy. That way it doesn't kick up in those areas. So that is one from Tarte, which is a light medium color corrector. This one says it specifically for your under eyes. And so peachy tones are really great for your under eyes. That's usually what I will use there. If you have darker skin, you might want to use, instead of a peachy tone, a more orange tone, because those blue hues will be a little bit more intense as you get darker skin. So if you are darker skinned, you might want to use something a little bit more on the orange side. If you're fair to light like me, you can use a peach toned corrector. You could also use a yellow if you notice that the tones in your under eyes are not super bluish, maybe on a little bit more on the purple side, not super dark. If you really just want to highlight the area slightly and cover them, you could use a yellow. I've definitely done that. Yellow is typically more for highlighting certain areas, so I would just be wary on that. Typically, I like to use the peachy tones for color correcting themselves. Now, even though you can use the peach tone corrector, usually is used under the eyes. I have noticed that on some, especially darker skinned women, you tend to notice some darkness around their mouth area. So you could use the peach toned or an orange toned corrector to correct that as well. You want to make sure that you're just using a really light amount, as I will show you in the next steps. You don't want to use a lot of that product, but if you do notice that you have some darker tones maybe around your mouth area, it tends to get like the bluish hues, or under your eyes, a peach tone corrector is what you would use. So for people that have lots of redness, I would use a green corrector. So on me personally, you see like my breakouts are pretty red toned, so I can use a green corrector to counteract that color. And then so that's really great if you have lots of redness in your skin. You will like to use a green concealer. Typically, people with darker skin don't use lots of green correctors in my experience, because the tones that, the discoloration that comes out on them is not really like on the reddish side. It's usually on the bluish hue side or purplish side. So that's not something that I use a lot on darker skin girls, but it can be used if you do see any redness. Even if you see redness on your body and you want to color correct it, you could use a green if you have any red tones. There are lots of other tones that you can find in a color corrector, but to be honest, I don't feel like they're absolutely necessary. These are the ones that I would use more often, you would use more often. So peachy and green tones, orange tones, those are the ones that you're gonna use more often in your basic color correcting for your everyday makeup look. So the theory behind color correcting is to use the opposite tone of what you have on your face, right? So if you look at a color wheel, you'll notice the tone that is opposite to the color is what you will use to counteract that color. So for example, redness, what's directly across from red is a green or a yellow tone, which is why we use green. What's directly across from a purple or a blue is usually an orange or a peach. So that's why we use those kinds of tones to counteract those other discoloration in the skin. And it's a really great technique to use before your foundation, because you don't want those colors to come through your makeup. So it's really nice to do before, that way you have a really blank canvas for your foundation, and your foundation can cover those discoloration a lot easier. There are people that have different ways of color correcting. I know some people like to color correct after their foundation. Me personally, I like to do it before, because like I said, it just helps my foundation amp up its own coverage, and I make sure that I don't have any of those green or peachy tones coming through my makeup. So me personally, I do it before, but it really is up to you. So I have my skin prepped at the moment. I do have some moisturizer on, and so I want to demonstrate to you guys how it is that I would color correct. Now, the biggest mistake that I see people do online is that they apply a whole lot of product. And as you'll see, you do not need that much product, especially with a color corrector. You don't want to use a lot of product. You don't want to be able to see the color super opaque on your skin. You want to see it neutralize whatever's there. So if you're using too much product, you're definitely not doing the correct process. So I'm going to use the Tarte color corrector, and I'm going to use it on a really fluffy brush like this. It's very tapered, very fluffy. It has a lot of give. So we're going to use this. And so what I'll do is I'll dip my brush in the product, and I like to warm it up on the back of my hand slightly. So I'm going to warm it up here just to make sure that it's nice and creamy. And then I will run that in any areas where I see that I have those blue tones. So for me personally, it's usually around here and very close to my lash line on the outer corner. I don't need to bring the product too far down because it's not necessary on me. So just gonna show you guys, I'm trying to position my mirror. So very lightly, you just need to apply the product. You don't need a lot of product. As you can see, I'm building it up, layering a really small amount of product. I'm bringing it into my inner corner because I can see that there's usually some darkness in there as well. And then running it on my lash line where I said earlier I noticed the darkness. So as you can see, I didn't dip back into my product. I still have product in my hand. I used a tiny amount of product, and you can already notice a difference on the brightness here and the darkness that you see here. It's immediately more bright. So if you notice, a lot of people on the internet like to use a whole lot of product, and then when they blend it out, it just looks like they have orange streaks under their eyes. It's not necessary for this step. So I'm just gonna show you guys the other side as well, doing the same thing, just so you can see. Feathering it very lightly. You don't have to use too much product again, like it's really not necessary. I feel like that's something that I want to reiterate a lot, because that's the biggest mistake I see people do, is they use a whole lot of corrector when it's not necessary. And then what ends up happening is that if you will use a lot of product, unnecessary product, you're going to waste money on product that you purchased. And not only that, but you are going to notice your makeup is cakey, creasing, and all of that stuff that you don't want. So it's better to just use light layers and then build them up as you go. I'm done color correcting my under eyes, and as you can see, they look a lot more bright, they look a lot more awake. You do not see any of those dark tones under my eyes anymore. I do still have some discoloration on my eyelids, but that's not the point of this video. Anyways, we're gonna do eyeshadow on top. So you could run the color corrector over your eyelids if you wanted to, but I don't need that because I use a primer anyways. As far as the under eyes, you can see that they already look nice and brighter. Again, keep in mind that you are going to go over top of this with your foundation and your concealer and your powders. So this is just going to amp up that coverage of those products that go on top, because now they don't have as much work to do, because you have a lot of the hard work already done for it, right? So I'm just gonna show you guys how I would do a green concealer. Now, I'm gonna use the LA Girl Pro Conceal in the green shade for this. Now, I know I have seen lots of people on the internet going straight with their applicator onto their red marks. And so I don't recommend that, because especially red marks typically are from pimples or acne. And so what you're doing is you are basically contaminating the product by using the applicator directly onto especially your red marks. So do not do that. We don't want to do that. What I like to do is I will apply the product onto my finger. I'm going to squeeze some out. And so I have some of the green corrector on my finger here. I'm going to put it onto the palm of my hand. And I'm basically gonna pat out the product. I don't want a ton of product on my finger, right? So that's what we have going on. And so I'm gonna take with my finger, I'm going to pat it onto the areas where I have the redness very lightly, you know? That's like one thing that I want you guys to notice is that I'm not having to use a ton of product, and it's already color correcting the area that I want it to, what I want it to do. And then with the greens, this is why I typically like to do my foundation before, because even though I've used very little product, you could still see some of the green around the area. So that is why I do my foundation after this step. And if you wanted to go in with more product, you could just take a new finger and just dab on some more and go in. It'll take you longer. I know it takes you longer than using it with an applicator, but you're gonna contaminate the product, and then what you're gonna end up doing is you're gonna use the same applicator later on your face, and you're just going to cause more bacteria to come through onto your face. So you want to avoid breakouts, then do not contaminate your product. And then sometimes some people can get like some redness around their nose. So you could even use what's left over of your green concealer around your nose. I definitely have done this before as well. And then it'll color correct the hues of the redness on your nose. That's basically how I do some nice and basic color correcting. I'm gonna go ahead and do my foundation off camera, and then I will show you guys the final product. Hey guys, so I am back. I have done my foundation, concealer, powder, some brows, mascara, and some lip products. And you can see the overall product or the overall result of our color correcting. There's no blue tones coming out through my eyes, and a lot of the redness of my acne and things like that have gone down significantly. So I do want to mention that, you know, if you have texture on your skin due to your acne or pimples, color correcting is not gonna take that down. It's literally just going to correct the color. It is not going to correct the texture. Now, in order for you to correct the texture, you do need to get facial treatments, go see an esthetician, apply medication, apply your skincare, reach out to your local esthetician for whatever treatments they recommend for you. So as far as texture, that's not gonna go down with color correction, but at least you will notice the coverage of your foundation a lot better by covering or color correcting those discoloration in your skin. So I also wanted to mention who needs color correcting. So because I've seen a lot of people on the internet especially color correct when they do not need to color correct. So color correction is when you notice a lot of discoloration in the skin. If you have slight discoloration, you might not need color correcting. You could just easily go on with your foundation and it's covered completely. This is for people that notice that even with their foundation and they still see the tones come through their foundation and concealer. If that's your case, then you probably would benefit from color correcting. But if you usually go on with your foundation and your concealer and you don't notice any tones coming through, then just skip color correcting. It's really not, if it's a step that you can avoid, then by all means avoid it. But you know, the more products you have on your face, the more noticeable your makeup will be and enhance texture and things like that. Makeup itself is going to enhance whatever texture you have. So if you can avoid unnecessary steps in your routine for your makeup, then just avoid it altogether. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you check the description box below. I will leave all my social media down there, as well as any links to any products in case you'd like to purchase them. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments as well. I will do my best to answer them as best I can. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.